What screams poorly educated? The inability to understand nuance. Everything's very simple and easy to understand, and they think you're mental if you try to describe the shades of grey. Treating people who speak with an accent like they are ignorant or inferior. These people are literally communicating to you in a second language to them. That's what gets me. Yeah, some verbs and nouns might be misplaced in a sentence, but you understood what they meant, and you can't speak two languages. You speak your language because you know no other. I speak your language because you know no other. My husband's second language is English, and a supervisor used to speak loud and slowly for him when giving instructions, then asked, "Do you understand?" His response was, "You know, just because I speak with an accent does not mean I think with one." I thought it was pretty good. Using buzzwords without knowing what they mean, especially when you ask them to clarify what they are talking about, and they continue regurgitating the same buzzword. If you can't describe something in very simple terms, you don't really know it. I experienced it firsthand. I knew how to do programming, but didn't really understand it. Hence, I couldn't explain it to anyone who doesn't do programming, except I would always be open about the fact I can't explain it. Now that I actually understand it, I can explain it to my mum. Used to do a lot of business writing for the company I worked for. Even the president of the company ran his correspondence past me for revision refinement. My rule was KISS, keep it simple, stupid. Rule was to use the fewest number of words necessary to get a clear message across. Nothing more irritating than having to waste time reading War and Peace when it could be said in 2 paragraphs. Best boss I ever had. Emails came in as if there were issues or questions. It was easy to follow up and have a record, but there was fluff, just simple and quick. To object-oriented programming. You're a socialist, fascist, racist, Marxist, communist. Both sides? Don't gaslight me. This term should just be retired because 90% of the people that know it have no idea what it actually means. You gaslighting me, boy? The fact that this is genuinely one of the most common reactions to explaining the actual definition is a very laugh-cree emoji situation. If this post gets 200,000 shares, big corporation will donate a kidney to this brave little girl in desperate need. Actually commenting and sharing of buy post to win a custom EB post to win a custom EB because the last person they tried to give the prize to was underage, so couldn't accept. Or anything of that ilk. I remember like 15 years ago seeing a picture on Facebook of a little girl with all kinds of tubes coming out of her, and if this gets 10 shares, the doctor will perform the life-saving surgery on her for free, and people sharing it left and right. As if the doctors were so horrible and heartless that they would only perform life-saving surgery if enough people shared her picture. Sorry, little girl, you're gonna die 'cause not enough people care. Oh well. Similarly, there was a copy-paste status the most gullible people I knew were sharing years ago, saying that Facebook was moving to a subscription model and that by sharing this post, they were opting out of paying and would continue to use the service for free. Thank you very much. This Reddit comment is heretofore legally binding. Blah, blah, meaningless technical-sounding jargon. Alternatively, there was a similar one where they said, "Oh, I found out Facebook is moving to this model where they can use your pictures and video however they want. So I hereby declare that I don't give Facebook permission." Yada I do die declare. First of all, that was always part of the terms and conditions. It's not new. Secondly, making a declaration to FBI about how you aren't going to follow their rules, it's stupid and definitely not binding. The workaround is that you have to declare it. I did win an Xbox One back in 2015 on Facebook, so I don't bully those people too hard, unless it's a super obvious scam like those. Reading a headline and thinking you now know the whole story. So, most Reddit users, no, we go to the comments hoping the bot pasts the content in a comment. Ignore it, then argue about what the headline says. I feel so seen. A refusal to admit that you're wrong or don't know something, an inability to objectively analyze something, an article, an opinion, etc. Having pride in not knowing something, that always shocks me, but it's pretty common. Some people make ignorance the core of their personality to the point that they're actually proud of all the things they don't know. These are the same people who brag about not having read a book since high school. Let's be honest, they didn't read books while in high school either. They didn't teach us anything in school. The rallying cry of every classmate you remember who just fucked around all day or skipped entirely. I got into an argument with an anti-vaxxer from high school. It ended when I said, "Steve, you used to cheat off me in biology class. Maybe copy me on this too. Block to shreds, you say." I got into an argument with an anti-vaxxer at a bar. He asked me if I had any side effects from taking the vaccine. I told him, well, I had flu-like symptoms for a day and threw up once. He told me that if something makes you throw up, you shouldn't put it in your body. He said this as we were both drinking beer, or being furious and wanting revenge when someone else does know something. You think you're better than me, because I do, and I don't like that. Asimov said it best. There is a cult of ignorance in the United States, and there has always been. The strain of anti-intellectualism has been a constant thread winding its way through our political and cultural life, nurtured by the false notion that democracy means that my ignorance is just as good as your knowledge. They should make huge banners with these words and place them all over USA and Canada. I don't think that would help. More than half of Americans are not able to read beyond a 5th grade reading level. Further, at this level, they have trouble grasping the meaning of the words they are able to read. They literally have trouble understanding the concepts that strings of written words are communicating. It's hard for me to wrap my head around, but most Americans are actually not able to fully comprehend the meaning of written text. Everybody that calls me a loser. Tighten up. Tighten up. Lack of curiosity and willingness to learn. I have talked to neighbors and co-workers that I thought were backwards and unintelligent and been very surprised by their willingness to explain their position and listen to mine and reconsider and listen to mine and maybe even research a little. Those folks are intelligent and growing and have just come to a different conclusion than me, and I can respect that even if I disagree. I have family members who are way more book-educated than I am, who have drank the Kool-Aid and believe what Facebook and certain news stations that are more like entertainment stations tell them in snippets. It's like their brains turn off about certain topics, and they don't want to debate, understand, only parrot. I don't judge on grammar or appearance because I don't know other people's backstory. But if you can't be open-minded, you are stagnant. Someone I went to school with was telling online how their child asked a very reasonable question about a zoo animal while they were at the zoo, and they laughed him off because it was about a bodily function and kids will be kids. I looked it up on my phone and had the answer posted in 2 minutes. They were all, "Yay, figures you'd do that. You were always the smart one." And I said, "No, I have a phone and I used it." The kid was curious. I too was curious. He's not going to know unless you tell him, too young for his own phone at the time. Teach him how to find out and he will never be ignorant. The worst part is that this same parent was homeschooling at the time. Poor kid. Edit. Thanks for the award, kind anonymous stranger. Edit 2. I did miss the topic a bit in that curiosity can be a personality trait. However, willingness to research how to Google, how to simply ask someone without fear of embarrassment can be modeled in one's education. If you are supported when young on finding out an answer being half the fun, you will be less likely to stay ignorant. That's my opinion. One of my husband's cousins was treated that way growing up. She's kind of ditzy in her mannerisms and is a natural blonde, so she was always treated as a dumb blonde. The thing is, she's naturally curious and asks questions when she doesn't understand something, but no one ever bothers to answer. They just laugh at her being blonde and not knowing something. We were at a family holiday gathering when she was about 16, and she had a misconception about how something worked in biology. Everyone in the family just thought she was being funny, but she honestly wanted to know how it actually worked. I heard her asking and could tell she was a little frustrated about not getting an answer, so I helped explain it. She listened intently and seemed to understand what I was saying. That dumb blonde is now attending medical school and is on track to become a doctor, because when it comes down to it, she's actually really smart and just needed people to give her a chance.
Wah! That's bad. And kids going to grow up scared to ask questions if that's anything to go by.
I got into an argument with a co-worker one time about the nature of fire. We went back and forth for 5 goddamn minutes before I went, "Wait."
We have the internet. Why are we arguing?
Had the answer inside of a minute. It was that day I truly understood that there is no longer any excuse to not know something. I don't like to criticize people for lack of education, because not everyone is afforded the same opportunities, but I am astonished at the amount of people who have gone to school and everything in it seems to have rolled off of them like water off a rain cake. There's grown-ass adults who have no grasp of really basic concepts, taught in middle or primary school, or who can barely read or write in their native language, despite having graduated high school. I had a student social worker one summer. She couldn't spell or print, let alone decide if her name should be spelled with a Y, I, or E. It was Ashley. This is a person who will decide whether to take children away from parents one day. I was in a social worker program with some people who I wouldn't trust to tie their own shoes. They were not by any means the majority, but I was struck by how possible it is for incredibly incompetent people to get advanced degrees simply by staying in school a long time. These were people aspiring to be in, or who were already in, fields where they would have immense power over the trajectory of vulnerable people's lives. Bragging about not reading. Definitely hated reading after being forced to read books like The Scarlet Letter or The Bell Jar in high school. Not enjoyable books for a 16-year-old. Picked up a book during COVID that I enjoyed and found out reading is sick. It's like TV in your brain. 10/10 recommended. I will never understand flat earthers. You can literally see the curvature of Earth depending on where you are. Don't try to reason someone out of an idea they didn't reason themselves into. In the documentary I watched on Netflix, there was a scientist giving a talk to other scientists, and he said the best thing we can do for people that don't accept the scientific model is to keep trying. Something along the lines of being responsible for people not knowing. I liked this thought process. We shouldn't look at ignorant people as their visas. They're human too, but of course it's fucking frustrating. The same documentary where they proved themselves the earth is not flat, and instead of going yes, we were wrong, they went to this experiment is flawed, loved. Believing literally everything from the internet. Worse, spreading online news. The same documentary where they proved themselves the earth is not flat, and instead of going yes, we were wrong, they went this experiment is flawed, loved. Not wanting your kids to do better than you. That's not being poorly educated. That's being narcissistic. Thinking that getting a pay raise means you'll make less money because you are in a higher tax bracket. Hell, my intelligent, successful brother didn't know how marginal tax brackets worked until he was 40. I had this conversation with my co-workers the other day, and every single one of them was even my boss didn't know. Employers aren't going out of their way to correct that narrative. It can mean less net income if getting a raise or a higher paying job disqualifies someone from any assistance programs that person or household may currently be on. But that's somewhat of a grey area in terms of income, which wouldn't eventually be a problem anyway if they continue to get raises in the future. The tax bracket stuff though, yeah, that's dumb. I recall seeing a news report on this very thing. A woman was promoted to manager but had to step down because the loss of benefits meant she had a net loss in income. Getting kicked off Medicaid is the big one. Most everything else is either temporary assistance or slides with your income like SNAP. Do people actually think that? Yes. I've even seen people making minimum wage complaining about how they are paying X% taxes, much higher bracket than their own. Literally no clue. Lack of critical thinking and dismissal of science and the scientific method. Edit. I find the Fassbaum Award hilarious. When objectivity and rationality are viewed as dangerous and threatening, it's just a theory, spoken by idiots worldwide who have no idea the weight and specific meaning that the word theory has in science. They assume it's the same as you would use the word in general conversation, something ethereal just to get. It's not. It's an idea that has been repeatedly tested and corroborated by evidence to hold true. 99% of our customers recommend us. Yeah, because the people who didn't like your company are no longer customers. Confusing someone's level of formal education and their intelligence. The dumbest person I work with has a master's degree, educated beyond their intelligence. Taking social media influencers seriously. Alpha Mala. I did a tour with wolves a few months ago where we got up close to them and could hang out with them. One of the handlers told us that the term alpha male referred to the male who took care of the whole pack. We are talking everyone from babies to sick ones to grannies. His line that I'll never forget was, so next time someone refers to themselves as an alpha male, make sure they understand that the alpha male is the guy pushing the stroller with a fanny pack full of bandages, polyps and medicine. Till I'm an alpha male. Wanting to defund education. not questioning everything, at least a little bit. I seen that on TV. Writing, I should have done something. There. I hate seeing bawling when people mean bawling. I know it's a less common word than there, but still. Being really loud for no reason. My favorite is your looser. Willful ignorance. Poor grammar. If there's a Confederate flag flying outside of your house. Being a flat earther or anti-vaxxer. Agreed. I live in the South, and it's important to note that 99.99999% of the people here who fly that flag know exactly what it means and exactly what they're doing. Confederate flag apparel, overtly patriotic truck nut.